Hi everyone, my name is Darby Callahan and this is Callahan Corner episode 2 for the year 2023. The first is that Trump has indicated that he is likely going to be arrested on Tuesday. So that's something to definitely watch in the next couple of months. And it is not for the case of January 6th insurrection. In fact, it is the 2016 case of Stormy Daniels. Basically, long story short, Trump paid Stormy Daniels hush money through his lawyer. So basically, his lawyer paid Stormy Daniels $130,000 in hush money, and then Trump paid back his lawyer, reimbursed his lawyer. So the Manhattan DA is going to issue an arrest warrant, or the judge is going to. It won't be an arrest. The judge is going to have an arrest warrant handed down on Tuesday, which means basically they keep talking about an indictment. So rather than charges being brought by the prosecutor, a grand jury has actually, the verdict in a grand jury was that he should be indicted. So that's kind of something to watch this week, and I'll have more updates in the next video, so in next Saturday's video. But let's get to the polls. In the latest GOP primary polls, according to Real Clear Politics, it has Trump up by 3 points against DeSantis, and that was March 17th. So that was just yesterday's poll, which is a lot different than what CNBC is reporting, which shows that Trump has 46% of the support of a hypothetical group of candidates compared with 32% for DeSantis. So that's definitely something to watch. Again, I tend to support DeSantis. The other candidates are and trying to close that gap in those two, but I still think the GOP 2024 candidate will be either Trump or DeSantis, and I'm leaning towards DeSantis because he has less baggage than Trump, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Look at Trump versus Biden there. We have a potential tie. So that means if there were to be an election 44 to 44, that's an interesting take. But DeSantis has in Florida, in the state of Florida, DeSantis has 3 points against Biden, up 3 points against Biden. Trump would be a virtual tie. But for the Florida Republican presidential primary, Trump looks like he may take it, which is an interesting take, that even though Florida, as a populace, believes that DeSantis can win and is tied, and so unsure that Trump could beat Biden, they still lean towards Trump. And there has been talk amongst the GOP of it being a Trump-DeSantis ticket together. While I think that would be a winning ticket, one of them would have to move out of the state. And with Trump being potentially behind bars in New York and Manhattan, that seems like it would be a little hard for him to live in the White House if he is a convicted felon. So that's definitely something to watch, and I'll get to the case a little bit more towards the end of the video, why I think it's a terrible idea to arrest him now rather than earlier in the race. In the general election, Trump versus Biden, Biden takes it by 4 points, and DeSantis versus Biden, Biden takes it 1 point according to this poll on March 15th. So definitely something to watch over the next few days, next few weeks, to see who gains ground and who may not. Again, we have Tim Scott with 2 points, Noam and Sununu with 2 points, Pompeo with 1 point, Cruz with 1 point, Pence with 6 points, Haley with 7 points. DeSantis does take that spread with 39. That is for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination. In a different poll, that was a CNN poll, in a I&I and TIPP poll, we have Trump up 29%. So there's a big difference between the poll and who they may poll. So that's something to definitely consider when we're reviewing these polls. And for the Democratic candidate, not a surprise there with 34 points ahead. for Biden versus Harris. So that's something to definitely watch. Personally, I think if Biden's going to run, he needs to dump Kamala Harris. She is a terrible vice president. In fact, one of the headline stories with her is she likes school buses, which is an interesting comment that she's made. She literally sounds like she is in kindergarten. And she went into the locker room after the Howard University lost in the March Madness to give some encouraging words, and they weren't encouraging at all. They were kind of a slap in the face. And if I was, and she kindly invited them to the White House, which, yeah, after a big loss, you really want to go visit Biden. I wouldn't want to visit that man in 1,000 years. So in some other polls, Trump is up 18. Mastriano in the Pennsylvania Senate is up 18 points. Direction of country, where 39% thought we were in the right direction, and 56% believe we're in the wrong direction. That is a 17-point spread. So that's something to definitely watch too. And I think I would agree with that poll that we are in the wrong direction. So moving on to the different polls here. We'll first look at the Democratic primary polls. And the first Democratic primary poll has Biden up 34%. Like I said before, not a surprise, and I think that's the same poll regardless. So that's an interesting take. So I think it will be Biden in 2024 as the Democratic candidate, but he does not seem to have that big of support amongst the party. So that is definitely a sign of weakness in the Democratic Party. And there's not a very clear presidential primary candidate for the Republicans, but it seems that depending on the poll, Trump and DeSantis seem to have a back and forth lead. Like back in March 9th, the Florida presidential primary race shows DeSantis up. Not surprising, given that the people of Florida really like Ron DeSantis, especially as their governor. But if you look up here, more nationwide polls, it seems to be a lot closer, other than this I poll. So there's definitely something to watch, and it does make me a little nervous that Trump has this much support in various states, especially amidst potentially being arrested on Tuesday. So we'll kind of close out that with the polls, and I will talk about that a little bit here. So basically, my thought on the whole grand jury indictment is that it's a really bad timing. I really think that throwing this indictment out during a presidential race is going to show that the AD cares more about politics rather than justice. There's 3 points there. It's a presidential election. It's the former president running. It's been in the media. How do you find enough 12 jurors to convict someone or find someone not guilty who, when you put all the evidence out in the media, you already told the entire country what you think of Donald Trump and why you think he's guilty, but now you're going to throw an indictment out there and then try to tell me that you're going to find 12 jurors to find the facts of the case, because that's what happens in a trial. So if you can tell me how you find 12 unbiased juries during an election cycle, that is the only way I'm going to think this arrest is going to be fair. I don't want to defend Donald Trump if that's what he did. If he did pay the hush money, I think he should be held accountable. If he did incite the violence on January 6th, I think he absolutely should be held accountable. But tell me how you're going to find 12 jurors, and a judge that does not already have an opinion on Donald Trump. Tell me that. That does not mean he's above the law, but tell me where you're going to find 12 jurors, and a judge that does not already have a unbiased opinion. How many judges did Trump put into office? How many judges did Biden put into office? I'm not sure if it's that many. He's only been president for a little over 2 years now, so I'm not sure how many judges he put in. How many judges did Obama put in? Biden was vice president. So I don't think there will be a fair jury. But if you have any pointers, if you have any reasons to believe it will be a fair jury, please let me know in the comments. Thank you, and have a great night. God bless. This is Dr. Callahan, Callahan Corner, signing off.